Welcome back to another episode of The Founder, a show that features entrepreneurs and their early stories of ingenuity, struggle, and perseverance to get their companies off the ground. We do our best to capture the uncensored, uncovered look behind the curtain into what founders really face when getting started. I'm your host, Kallaway. My guest today never had a career as an entrepreneur in her life plan. Starting from when she was 14, she had one thing on her mind: make money. She started working in investment banking out of college and used to tell everyone, "I'm not changing the world, I'm just making money." When she hit 30, she started questioning her purpose and realized she didn't have a great answer for herself. When she looked for a financial advisor of her own, she realized they all looked and felt the same. After becoming a financial advisor herself and realizing she was spending more time helping people pro bono than the one she was paid to advise with over $250K in assets, she knew there was an unmet need. That's where she got the idea for the Financial Gym. At the Financial Gym, this founder and her team are chasing a noble mission to change the financial health of this and future generations. They work with over 3,000 clients remotely across all 50 states, as well as their 4 physical locations. They have a diverse client base, ranging from 17 to 74 years old across all levels of financial health, and think of themselves just like a regular gym, but for your money. As a special offer, this founder is giving our listeners 40% off their monthly membership rate during COVID. Once COVID is over, you'll still be able to get 15% off your monthly membership. To take advantage of this offer, go to financialgym.com and press Get Started to schedule your free consultation. If you mention the Founder Podcast in that consultation, you'll get the discount. This was an inspiring interview that helped break down the big scary monster that is financial health and taught me a bunch of things I should be doing to improve my own. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. Without further ado, the founder of the Financial Gym, Shannon McLay. Let's get it. Shannon, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Of course. Yeah, I'm really excited to dive into it. So before we kind of get started on kind of the origin story of the company, can you just give us an anchor point for the Financial Gym, what it looks like today, kind of mission, vision, size, employees, things like that?
So the Financial Gym exists to change the financial health of this and future generations. And we work with clients in all 50 states right now. We have 4 physical locations that are currently closed because of COVID, but we plan to open in early July, reopen in early July. We work with over 3,000 clients right now, and they're all financial shapes and sizes. Our youngest client's 17, our oldest is 74. And yeah, we say we're just like a regular gym except for your money.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's so many people listening that are gonna really value from this conversation, and don't really know where to start when it comes to their financial literacy. Mm-hmm. As we kind of dive through it, I'd love to kind of rewind the clock a bit. So can you walk us through your life and background and everything you did in your career leading up to starting the Financial Gym?
Yeah. I always love when I'm on a founder or entrepreneurial based podcast, because that was never in my life plan ever until I had the idea for the gym, truthfully. I always just had a mission of making money. Just from an early age, I started working when I was 14. I love working. I worked through college. I knew I wanted to be a business major in college because that would make the most money, short of having to do more education. I didn't want to do more schooling like a lawyer or doctor, but I wanted to make 6 figures. So business was like the next thing. So I became a business major, and I got a job in investment banking right out of college. And I used to tell people for the next 13 years, I literally would say, I'm not changing the world. I'm just making money. That was like my mantra. I knew it. I was like, I'm just making money. And then I hit 30 and started feeling like I'm going into 30. I remember telling people, like, I'm having all these friends have breakdowns about turning 30 because they're not married or they don't have kids or their career's in a bad place. And I was like, 30 is going to be so easy for me. I remember telling my then husband, now ex-husband, spoiler alert, that I was like, 30 is going to be easy. Like we're married, have a kid, great job, great house. Like 30 is easy. I had a great 30th birthday, big party, weekend blowout. And then 6 months later had a complete meltdown. And I was like, I don't know what this life is.
Yeah.
I don't want the job. I don't want the husband. I don't want the kid. I don't want anything. I was like,
complete reversal.
Yeah. I was like, whose life did I sign up for? Like I signed up for somebody else. I checked all these boxes, but they weren't really my boxes. and then ended up getting life coached throughout that process. And kind of one of the first things he said to me was like, "What's your life's purpose?" And I was like, I
Yeah,
mean,
good
make
question.
money, right? Like that. That's it. I didn't really even know the answer to that. And it seemed really woo-woo to me to ask me about my life's purpose. But then that led me on this trajectory. I ended up reading a book about happiness that really resonated with me. And it talked about how you find like true happiness is found when you help people without expecting anything in return. And that was my first aha to the gym. I was like, you know what? That sounds like something meaningful, something that I should be doing. And then was kind of had that in the back of my mind, was working for Bank of America, Merrill Lynch at the time, and needed a financial advisor. And I was like looking around, and I worked with advisors, and they all looked and felt the same. They were all old white guys, and there's nothing wrong with that. I always say, I married a man, I birthed a man. They're great. But like, if somebody wanted something different, it was really hard to find. So then I thought, well, I'll become a financial advisor. I'll help more women become financial advisors. It's like kind of leading me to my purpose in life. This is where it's going. And I became a financial advisor. And to work with me, you had to have 250,000 in assets. And you literally didn't count as a client. You were worth nothing unless you had 250,000 in assets.
Yeah, which is crazy.
And I didn't think anything of that though, because like I'd been around money, right? I've been on trading floors for the last 13 years. I had that in my 401k. I was like, this is going to be easy. And I found people with money, but I just started taking meetings with everybody. And I laugh now because the gym never would have existed if I took the advice of my Merrill mentor. And you say mentor in air quotes because he didn't really give me a whole lot of guidance. He was just assigned to me. But his advice was, he told me early on, he said, make sure you pre-screen your calls. Make sure they have money before you even have coffee with this person. Because if they don't have money, they don't even count. So you're wasting your time. And I remember thinking in my head, I have all of the time in the world. Like I could have coffee with whoever. And I took every meeting. So if somebody reached out to me and they were like, hey, I'm looking for a financial planner, I was like, yeah, let's grab coffee. And one of the first meetings I had was with this woman who said, I have 250,000 of student loan debt and I make $50,000 a year. And not the 6-figure law job that my law school told me I was going to have. And I'm not sure how I'm going to pay this. And quite frankly, I feel unlovable because of all this debt. Like who would want to marry me with all this debt? And it was so many things. And I was like, wow, I can't even do a financial plan for her at Merrill because she'd be really depressed. It was like this wealth management tool you use. And I was like, she doesn't have wealth. So
Yeah, what does she do?
what is a negative net worth? Like, how do you even, most people now have negative net worths when you're with student loan debt. I'm like, that's just depressing. Who wants to be worth less than zero? So I started doing plans on the side and kind of creating these like side things. And then it became like the dirty little secret that I was helping people with no money, my like moonlighting. And I did that for a few months and then had my aha, like the true moment of the idea for the gym. And it was meeting with this couple. They had over $1 million invested with me. And there were 2 doctors making 6 figures, doing really well. Their portfolio though was down like 3% because the market was down. And they were just kind of complaining about where all their money was. They were like it was like the end of the world. They're like, how are the kids going to go to college? How are we going to do all this stuff? And I spent an hour of my life making them feel better about being a little less rich. And it was just really soul sucking. And I thought, I guess this is my job. This doesn't feel like happiness, but I guess this is it. And then 2 days later, I did a plan for a woman, very similar to what we do at the gym, just bulleted. Like, here's how much you need to save. Here's how you do with the credit cards. Here's what you do with student loan debt. And just on a Word document. And at the end of the meeting, she said, you're saving my life, right? And I was like, oh, this feels so much better than that meeting. And it like literally all came to me at once. I was like, I have to create a business for people like this, which is the majority of Americans, which, will take care of, it doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank, that like you are worth something and you should be able to talk to a human being. And at the same time, I was on a weight loss journey. And I remember thinking around the same time, like when I wanted to get physically healthy, I have so many options of where I could go to get physically healthy. But if people want to get financially healthy, where would they go? Where would I send these pro bono clients to that's going to treat them like a human being, even though they don't have 250,000 in assets? And I thought, well, if you want to get financially healthy, you go to a financial gym. So that was 7 years ago. And I literally, so up until this point, so here I am, 35, never had a vision of starting a business. 35, I was like, I have to start this business because no one else will do it. I knew nothing about starting a business. I just knew I literally couldn't sleep at night because I was like, this has to exist.
That's amazing. when you were kind of coming up with the concept initially, right? You had some of these, moonlighting type consultations. So you knew, and you're a financial advisor, so you know what people need. But how did you think about like what the initial products and services you were going to offer were, and how did that evolve over the first couple of years?
What's funny to me is I knew 7 years ago it was the financial gym. Like I knew financial gym, but I knew nothing about starting a business. And I talked to people about it. I said, what do you think about this concept? They're like, yeah, sounds like a great idea. And I thought I was going to raise like millions of dollars right away because I was like, this is so brilliant. But the advice I got from people was like, hey, this sounds great, but bootstrap it. Like prove that the model works, prove that people pay you to help them with their money before you raise money. And I was like, okay. So I didn't want to put the financial gym concept out there because I was like, it sounded bigger than me. And it was just me at that point. So I created this entity called Next Gen Financial, like the next generation of finances. And so it's funny when you look at my LinkedIn, people think I started two companies. I'm like, it's the same company.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just like didn't want to go out there. I didn't know what the hell
You
I
were in
was
stealth
doing.
mode for the
Yeah,
first one.
I was like, let's just do this. So I called it Next Gen Financial. And in my mind, it was a 1-year program, like
Okay.
that you paid $500 for the year. I would meet with you 4 times, like quarterly reviews. And at the end, bye-bye, have a nice life kind of thing. And so I started, putting the feelers out there, marketing. I didn't have any clients. I thought I'll bring over some Merrill clients that'll help me pay some bills. But a lot of my Merrill clients actually didn't come because part of the work that we do is looking at the expenses, like really kind of getting into what's going on with your finances. And people don't want to go there. The expense side is
Right.
like the shaming side. And even though I wasn't there to shame them, I was there to help them. Like they weren't interested in that. The asset management's like sexy, like, oh, look how great our investments are. But nobody wants to look at the credit card debt and the way they're spending their money. So I had a meeting with one of my kind of the first client of the gym was a woman who's in a book club with my sister. My sister was talking about what I was doing. And this woman's like, oh, I'm about to get my master's. Like, I'd love to talk to somebody, connect me with your sister. So I told her it's $500 a year, blah, blah, blah. And she said, okay, I don't have that kind of money. I'm not really sure I want to make that kind of commitment. And I was like, well, that's what it is. So
Yeah, I was going to ask that. It was 500 too steep for a lot of people at the beginning, especially in that segment?
yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to charge it up front. It was like I was going to spread it out over the 4 quarters. So I didn't think it was that much, but I didn't know. Right. So then she was like, no. And so I sat on that and then I didn't have any other clients those first few weeks. And I kept thinking about it. I was like, well, because I told her we didn't have a program, but then I was like, what do I mean I don't have the program? Like I'm the boss. Like I can create a program for her.
Yeah, you are the program.
Yeah. I was like, what do I mean I don't have it? So I came up with this idea called the Kickstarter plan. I was like, hey, how about for $250, I'll do a financial plan for you. And I'll meet with you in a year, so we'll do one meeting, you'll get your roadmap and we'll meet and it'll be another meeting in a year, like a check-in meeting. And she's like, that sounds good. So I was like, okay. So she was my first client. And then what's interesting is like, then she told her friend in the book club. So client number 2 also did the Kickstarter plan. And then client number 3 was the boyfriend of client number 2. He wanted more handholding. So he signed up for the full year, the 5. He's like, I need more ongoing help. And so all 3 of those people are still clients 7 years later. Client number 1, I'm meeting with her tomorrow. We're having her quarterly review, however many quarters it's been over 7 years.
It's great.
And clients 2 and 3 ended up getting married. I helped negotiate the marriage, the ring, the whole thing. They're now bought a home in London and have their first child. And we're having their quarterly review in 3 days. So I always say, like, be open to what is, especially early on, because you're just figuring it out. And we still have clients still do the Kickstarter plan. And what happened was funny with client number 1. She didn't think she needed ongoing work, but she did. She realized afterward, now we meet very regularly. But what's funny, or what was hard for me initially figuring out the market, was when I left Merrill, I honestly thought that my business was going to be supported more by like parents paying for their kids. Because when I was at Merrill, a lot of parents would ask the advisors, hey, can you talk to my kids about budgeting? And all the advisors would roll their eyes. Like none of them wanted to work with the kids, right? But they had the parents' money. So they'd be like, oh yeah, I'll help the kids. And I said, I'll start the business for the kids. And then the parents will pay me to work with the kids. The funny thing I've learned over 7 years is I get the kids. Like the kids want to pay for themselves, so that's why the price point was like a moving thing. And then the funny kind of secondary side note is like we've had more kids pay for their parents to join the gym than the reverse. So
that just goes to show you like how aware like this younger generation is at discovering these types of things, understanding the need. That's awesome.
Yeah, and buying into it. And so yeah, it was the early stages. It was like that. Then I did that. I was doing that for a few people, but I was going through everything I owned personally because I thought I needed an office space, and this was before WeWork, so I had like a Regis office space. I was paying like $2,000 a month for it personally out of my own money, and then but also not charging people a lot and not really growing. And I got to the point where I was tapping into my IRA, my rolled over 401k. When I left Merrill, I had about 280,000 in it. I went through all of that. So the joke is now when you're in the gym, you're sitting in my 401k because that's like currently all there.
That's great.
But when I was getting to the last rollout of my money, I was literally worth nothing. And I cried and I was like, went to my then husband and I was like, look, I literally have nothing left to my name. So I need to go back and make money. This was like 2 years in. And I was like, I've got to go back to the bank. Like, I can't do this anymore. And he saw the work I was doing. So I was getting results, and clients 1, 2, and 3, they got to the 1-year review, and we got to that 1 year. And I was like, okay, like, have a nice life. And they were like,
yeah, we want to
wait,
keep
we
doing
had
this.
all these results. Yeah. Like, we're doing really well. Do we have to stop? And I was like, no, I guess not. And so I was getting results. I was figuring it out, but I wasn't making a lot of money. I wasn't charging a lot of money. And my then husband was like, you're on to something. I've got money left in my IRA. Let's keep going. And I was like, all right, let's do this. So then, which, as a financial planner now, I'm like, it's obviously not ideal to start your business on credit cards and your retirement accounts. But that was what we did. And so literally a month after that decision, I had coffee with a former boss of mine from Bank of America, and I was updating on what I was doing and like helping the people and doing all the things. And he just gotten let go from Merrill, and he said, hey, I have this severance payout. What do you think I should do with it? And I was like, I think you should invest in a small financial services company that's about to run out of money. And he was my first $100,000 check.
Wow.
So he was like, okay, I'll give you $100,000. And I was like, okay. So that was March of 2015. So I tell people there's 2 start dates for the gym. There's July 2013, which is when I left Merrill. And then there's March of 2015, which was when I got my first investors. So it became real in 2015. So what happened was, once I got that $100,000 check, then I started pushing the financial gym concept. I said, let me get the website. I'm going to trademark financial gym. Like, I'm going to start talking about financial gym. And so then I really like shifted into the financial gym stuff. And then I started to grow even more because people got what financial gym was. Like, people didn't really know what Next Gen Financial was, but like, just even saying financial gym and me talking about it, I had my own podcast and on my blog and other things. People were like, oh yeah, that makes sense, a financial gym. And so then it started growing, and I was like, I need to have another trainer. Like, I always saw it as something bigger than me. So like, I could have run a great financial planning practice with just like 100 clients and paid the bills. And I saw people do that. And I was like, I could do that. But I was like, this is something that is bigger than me. So I wanted to hire another trainer. So I started talking to investors again. I was like, hey, look, here's what I've created. Here's the results. Like, I know how to train somebody else. Like, I can train other people. And investors would say to me, well, you're great, and that's why you have results, but you can't replicate you. And I was like, well, Merrill Lynch replicates advisors all day long, and that's not necessarily a good product. I was like, I think I can replicate me better. Like, all I'm looking is somebody who's compassionate and empathetic. I could teach anybody about personal finance. Like, it's not that complicated. And I got a lot of no's, and I was starting to run out of money again. So I went back to Bob, is my first angel investor, the truest angel investor ever. And I said, I want to hire somebody. And I found the person I wanted to hire. Her name's Bridget. She's employee number 1 at the gym. And I said, I want to hire this person, and I want to open a gym location, because I had been in a WeWork then. And I was like, it really needs to be its own space. There's something, people feel a lot of fear and shame around it. I want to create our own space, like a safe space for that. And it was a long conversation and a lot, but he ended up giving me another $200,000. And then I hired Bridget, and then we started building the thing again, or building the thing really. And that was in 2016. And at that point we had about 60 clients. And like I said, now we're over 3,000, close to 4,000 clients now across the country.
That's incredible growth. So today, I was reading on your site is the model they people pay monthly and then they have almost, quote unquote unlimited access to their trainer and the services. Is that what you shifted to?
Yep. We do monthly pay. That was something one of my early clients, the reason why we have monthly pay is because she didn't have $250 in the bank, but she wanted to work with somebody. And she's been a client of mine for over 4 years now. So we made the monthly pay so it could be affordable for people. And that's our predominant business is our consumer business, the one-on-one training, but we also work with companies to provide financial literacy and education for their employees and other groups like we do group work as well.
So walk us through, like when you say in the early days you were putting together a financial plan. A lot of people who don't have a financial advisor have never gone through this process. They don't know what that means. Can you walk us through like what would you include in that? And today, if you were to sign up as a monthly user, get a trainer, what does that process look like tactically? Like what aspects of your finance are they helping you with?
So for us, I feel like a financial plan is pretty much a template. And I tell people anybody can give you a financial plan. Really, anyone can do a financial plan. But how many people keep you to that plan and keep you successful and accountable? And that's where over the last 7 years, the work we've done is like how to be successful. And 90% of our clients are successful within a year of working with us, which is why we have strong retention with our clients especially after 6 months. But what it is that the first meeting you have with your trainer, we call it the financially naked session. Like it's tongue in cheek, but it's really acknowledging that money is really taboo. So we know that a lot of people, haven't shared their financial details with anybody. We have married couples who've never shared it. So we know that you're feeling you've never shared this with somebody before. Now we're going to ask you, we're going to get really intimate on your finances, like what's in your bank account, what's your credit score, your debt and things like that. So we're going to ask all those questions. Do you have life insurance? Do you have a will? Just the kind of all the financial details. Then we're going to ask you what you want to do. Like, what do you want to accomplish in the next 1 to 5 years? And I think that's really important that people aren't doing and that a plan does for you. I always say financial plan's like a roadmap. And most of us feel lost financially because we're making financial decisions. We're making a right turn here, a left turn there. We're putting this on the card. We're doing this. And we're not looking at the overall trip and where we're going. And so then we feel lost because we don't know where we're going. The goals are like the destinations on the map. Like, oh, okay, you want to buy a house in 5 years. Okay, well, then that's like Ohio. And we got to get you to Ohio. So you don't keep driving around in circles. We got to get you someplace. And here's the best route to get there. And then I think that the thing that people miss is like, maybe they don't feel like they want to buy a home or they don't know what they can accomplish. And it's like, well, one of the biggest things we do in that first session is if money wasn't a factor, where do you want to go in your life journey? Like, this is your road trip. Like, why do you get out of bed every day? Why do you do what you do? Where do we want to go? And for some people, it's like the goals are like they want to get a fur baby. We have more clients who want fur babies than human babies. I mean, that's just like the thing. Travel is the number one goal of our clients at the gym. We've got clients with tattoo funds. We got clients who want to quit their job and or maybe make less money is their goal because they want to have a more meaningful job or what. We have so many different goals for like the destinations on the road trip. So we ask that, and then we ask what's really important to you. So what are your non-negotiables, the things you really need to like survive and thrive financially? And then in about a week later, we give you your plan, which is all formula. Here's all the numbers. Here's how it all comes out. Like, so here's how much you need to spend. Or one of the biggest things that we do that's truly unique to us is that we're going to tell you exactly how much money you need to make for all the things to come true, which I know no other financial planner does because I know that's unique to us. And that's why a lot of times financial plans don't work because people are trying to put together a puzzle that's never going to fit, So they're like, oh, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. Like 75% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, which is crazy.
But it's because maybe the paycheck's too small or the expenses are too high and they're not looking at the puzzle the right way. We're going to sometimes we have to break apart the puzzle or we're like, hey, you need a bigger frame for the puzzle or we need tinier pieces. But that's what we're doing. And so we literally through all those goals, we'll tell you exactly how much you need to make. And we've had clients start with us making $30,000 a year. And in that income goal, we'll tell them you need to make 70 or 80. And some people are like, oh my God, that's insane. We're like, well, those are just math. Like it's the reality. And what happens is because we've set that destination for them, they start moving toward that. So we'll have clients who look for jobs making 70 or 80,000, or they'll negotiate more of their pay, or they'll take on more side hustles. They're like, I just didn't know what I needed to make, or we'll say, don't make 70, have less goals. Like, just like, it's up to you.
Yeah,
It's just
adjust
math.
one or the other.
Yeah. I mean, it's really basic math at the end of the day, but we're just putting in a different framework for our clients.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And in that vein, so I'm really curious about this, and I think the listeners will be as well. So over all the time you've been a financial advisor, what are some of the most common like themes, trends, or pitfalls that people come in without the previous experience that they have in their head, and then your financial advisors have to set them straight on?
Yeah. The number one thing is people say, I don't know where all my money's going. Like, I make money and I don't know where it's going. And I crack up because over the years, I've had venture capital investors not want to invest in my business because it's too people forward. They want to see more tech. And I was like, there's plenty of tech out there and we still have a financial health crisis. And it's because we've literally had people say to us, Mint.com judges me. I'm like, Mint.com's not judging. It's just an app. It's not judging. But it says, oh, I'm going out too much. I'm like, well, you did go out too much. Like, that's math too. But it required an input from a person who didn't really know where they were spending their money. So they were like, oh, I spend $200 going out a week. No, you don't, because you don't know where your money is. You probably spend 400, but you're not tracking it. You're not mindful of your spending. So, we have so many clients come in who make $500,000-$600,000 a year, or 30,000. I always say the problems are the same. The zeros are different, but making that much money and have nothing saved. And it's like, mindfulness around money is the number one problem we see. And then secondarily, it's financial literacy in general. So people will say, I know I should know this. Like, they're shaming themselves. Like, I know I should know this. And why should you know it? That's always my response, because like, it's just like regular literacy, right? Why should you know how to read if you didn't learn it in school? Because we're not learning about finances in school. We probably didn't talk about it at home with our parents, and we're not learning it on the job. So why should we know it? But yet we should, right? Like, because money impacts everybody, but we're not getting an education in it. So that's a secondary thing, is just for us to educate our clients on what it means with the credit card and like how they should spend their money like in a more intelligent way. And then the third challenge is not on anybody's side. It's actually forces that are working against them. And that's the billions of dollars of marketing industry that is spent making you bad at money. Like, you're getting ads to your phones. You're like, there's all these apps and websites. Like, I can't tell you how much money people spend on Uber. They have no idea because they never see
Yeah, they never
it
like
regularly. So they don't
feel the
look. They're
cost.
like, oh, I didn't realize I was spending $700 a month on Uber. I was like, yeah. I mean, you could have your own personal driver for some of these people with how much they're spending. So those are the biggest three areas we see for clients. And, people come in a lot of times feeling, oh, I don't know how to invest, or, the investing side of it. I'm like, that's the easy side. Investing is actually really simple. It's having the money to invest is the hardest part.
And it feels like investing is like on a 10-step scale. That's like 8. Like, there's so much that has to happen up until then.
Yeah. We have clients who come in like, okay, I want to invest. And our trainers are like, okay, so emergency fund, right? Like, we need some cash in the bank.
Yeah,
like,
just in case.
And we are like obsessive about emergency fund. Like, we were literally, it's like we're cult-like about an emergency fund. And then what's been interesting is the last 3 months since COVID, like, our clients are like, oh, I get it. Like, I get what you guys have been talking about, because I feel really good that I have an emergency fund and I know why you've been saying it. And we're like, yeah, this is what we're talking about. I mean, obviously not a global pandemic, but we were talking about some kind of crazy emergency.
Any emergency. So if people are listening and let's say they're like flipping open their bank apps and looking at their money, right? What are like some tactical benchmarks that you share with your clients? So one, for example, and this, could be wrong, but I'm just throwing it out, like 30% of your post-tax income, like max, should go to your living expenses, or like things like that.
Mm-hmm.
What are the ones that come to your mind that you would most advocate for?
Yeah. So an interesting thing is, this is why also getting financially healthy is really complicated. There's not like an exact
there's
formula.
not a one size fits all.
Which is the challenge, right? But it's true. I've had so many investors too who've wanted to like AI and like bot me, like what we do. And I'm like, yeah, this is like, we're dealing with human
custom
behavior, and like, it is really tough. We have clients who are willing to spend 70% of their income to live someplace to not have roommates, like in New York, or can live off of 20% of their income because they want to save and move somewhere else. Like, you really kind of don't know what you can push somebody to until you start working with them and understand like how you can do it. But in general, we like a starting point we want to see is are for people to save 15% of their gross monthly income. That's like starting point number one and preferably not in a retirement account, because like the old school approach is like, oh, contribute to your retirement, max out your 401k. Yes, like you should contribute to retirement at some point, but you've got a lot of life to lead before 55 and a half where you can access that. And like for me, I have my 401k is gone because I didn't have cash in the middle. We call it like your life money. Also don't have cash for emergency fund. If you don't have cash for emergencies, then what you end up doing is you put on a credit card, and now, your 401k could make 8 to 10%, but now you've got credit card debt at 19%. You're not going to
Yeah,
get
it's not a good
ahead.
equation. But you said that's gross. So
Gross.
do you advise people calculate 15% on, whatever, if they say you're making 60 grand a year, take that, divide by 12, take 15% of that per month, but then taxes will get auto taken out. So whatever you get left in your bank account, you still have to take the number you calculate, and that's what you save. Is that
You
how
take the gross number, right? Why would you pay yourself less? You have to pay yourself first. And that's a challenging goal, but 90% of our clients hit that. Not all of them right away. So what we say is like you just gave the example 60,000, like that's I think 750 a month is like the number. So what's funny is like we'll give our clients that number and they're like freak out, like I've never saved that much money a month in my life. And we're like, look, we're not telling you to do it right away. Financial health is more of a marathon than a sprint, but let's try, right? Let's just try. So let's create an auto draft from your checking account to your savings account for whatever, do twice 2 month or your second payment. If you have all your rent, if bills come out the first month, whatever it is, once a month or twice a month to that savings account. If you need money to pay bills, move it back, right? Like you're not sending it to the moon, but create that habit and try to live off of what's left in the bank account as what you have left for everything and kind of sneakily save it. That's what you accomplish in a 401k. Just create it outside the 401k. And what happens is it creates the money mindset starts making people more aware of their spending, because they're like, oh, why couldn't I save that month? Or the next level, we have clients, if they have to pull money from their savings, they're like, I owe myself $300. Like if they do that. But we're like, just try it out. Like worst case scenario, you move the money back. But like best case scenario, you don't touch it. And I see you in 3 months and you've got $2,500 saved in 3 months.
So for people, like let's say, take a user journey. Like let's say there's someone 24, they're fresh out of college, they like want to go out with their friends. There's really not enough money left over to do the savings. And then if they want to go to the bar, like either they don't go or they put on a credit card, which as you said is often worse. And I'm sure you see that a lot. For people that are already coming to you, I think they've shown a commitment to want to get their financial, health in order. So they probably will make those sacrifices. But for people who are listening to this, who haven't signed up for Financial Gym yet and are grappling with that, are there any techniques that you, other than just like, look, just stop going to the bar?
Stop.
Like, what do you tell them?
What's funny is, again, for 7 years, there's a reason why we're successful. And I always say, we have people who are scared to join because they don't want to live this life of deprivation. Like they think once they join our gym, it's like, I'm going to like be a hermit and never go out. That's not a lifestyle change that's going to be sustainable, right? Like we're not like the keto diet where we're going to take everything away and then like you're going to binge on carbs at some point. We want you to create a sustainable lifestyle. So I have a client who's been a client of mine for a long time, and she wanted to have the apartment in the city. She wanted to get rid of her roommates. I was like, okay, that's going to really eat into your going out money. Like just is. And she's like, no, I really want to do it. I'm like, great. So then she moves. She's not saving the next 3 months. She had been saving but now her savings is eating into her other stuff. So I said, well, you're just going to have to make more money or not go out. Right. Like, so just don't. She's like, well, I want to have a life too. I'm like, well, you can't have it all. Like that. It's just math. And she's like, okay, I'll make more money. She had the ability to babysit. And I said, great. Then your babysitting money will be your fun money. So, you can go out if you babysit. If not, like you don't. And she started actively babysitting, and she was 30 years old and living in New York. She's like, I don't want to think of myself as a babysitter. I was like, well,
yeah, something's got to give.
You got to get, like, it's just, it's an equation, what's going to give. And, and that's a lot of times where we're coaching people into is like, you're just going to have to make more money then. Like, if you want to go out and have more fun, you need more money for the fun. And where are you going to find the money? Or change the way you're having fun and, do things that are less expensive, or, really we want people to just be mindful of how they're spending their money. If you want to go out, we ask people at that first session, what's important to you? We call it your sacred cows. We're like, what are your sacred cows? Like, what are the 1 to 2 areas of how you spend your money that are critical. Like you have to have this in your budget to be happy. And you can't have a herd of cows, right? Like except for 1% of the population, everybody's got to look at their expenses. So that's what we prioritize. So most people's sacred cows are travel, health and wellness, family, fur babies. Like those are like common sacred cows. But where people are actually spending their money, because we do track where our clients spend their money, in New York, the top three, most of the country, the top three areas are Amazon, Uber, some kind of car service, Seamless, Grubhubs, or dining out. And then in New York, a fourth is to Dwayne Reed, or like some kind of drugstore. No one lists those four areas as a sacred cow. Like people don't give Uber as a sacred cow, but yet that's where their money's going because they're not thinking about it and planning about it. And what we say is like, hey, I don't care if Uber is a sacred cow, but like then we need to cut back on other areas. So my point is like, if we have clients who going out is a sacred cow, like they're like, hey, I'm a social person. I need to like go out with my friends and I don't want to be going to happy hours. Like, I don't want to be that person. We're like, fine, then you can have to spend less. Yeah, right. Then you have to take the bus or walk, or you're going to have to, spend less dining out, whatever. You have to cook at home. I mean, then we got to fix the other things.
Yeah. I think what's interesting is, there's two levers. You can either spend less or make more. And to make more, a lot of people just assume like, I'll get my 5 to 10% every 2-year raise, and that's what it is. I've seen a few interviews where you talk specifically about, ways to negotiate your salary and things like that. Do you want to share any tips and tricks you have for that to be a little bit more effective?
Yeah. I mean, the making more is really important. I think it's a few things like, it takes work, right? Like, so that client who had to babysit, I'm not saying it's easy, but there are ways to make money. You just have to look for them. But the easiest way is negotiating in your job or through another one. And so it's really advocating for yourself, doing the research, seeing how much you should be paid, having conversations with your boss. The thing is with salary negotiation or negotiating in general, it's like a muscle you have to work, and a lot of people don't work it, so they don't feel comfortable asking. But especially if you do your research, have a conversation with your boss, like I always say, the easiest conversation is like, what's the trajectory for me here, like financially? Like, where do you see me going financially here? Because then you're not pushing them into anything. You're just like, you're asking them like, what can I expect? And then if they say, yeah, we can see this, and this, you're like, I really have an expectation of getting to a 6-figure job. Like, can I accomplish that here? Do you think that's a possibility? Because like you're letting them know that's where you want to go and you'll get there. And it's funny, one of employee number 3 of the gym, like I know she wants to make 6 figures. And I, as a boss, I'm like, you will get there. Like, I know that's what she wants. And then I'm going to help her get there as a company. If a company is not willing to help you get to where you want to go financially, then you might have to think about leaving. And that's a big thing. We have people who stay in jobs and don't make what they should, and they're scared to leave. But actually, you can make more money by leaving. You have the most negotiating power you ever will have when you're going into a job. So we've had clients leave and negotiate $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 more in pay at a different job.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. So when you think about how you acquire customers, right? Word of mouth for you has got to be great. And I don't know if you have a referral program or things like that, but those always work. Are there any other, outside the box tactics you've tried to acquire new customers that have worked for you?
Yeah, word of mouth is about 40% of what we do. And I've always said, just treat our clients well, and then they become our salespeople. What's interesting is early on, we, like a lot of companies, were throwing money into Facebook and Instagram ads, and because it's easy to spend money there, but not getting results. And we hired a firm to help us because we were like, we know people have goals of buying a house or whatever. And we were just we got zero traction from ads. So we hired the firm and they tested out 4 different ads. And 3 of them were the financial goals, like buying a house, talking about that, or the paying for a wedding, and I forgot the third one, paying off student loan debt. And then the 4th ad was meet the female founder who's disrupting the financial planning industry. And that ad led to the most clicks to our website, the most clicks to the membership. And the eye-opening thing for us was that we realized, people are feeling fear and shame around money, which we knew. So they're not like going to social media to fix it because they're trying to avoid it. So if we can kind of sneakily get that around to them, like then we can get them healthy in a way that's possible. And I would say to anybody with Facebook and Instagram in particular, a lot of it is psychology, and it's figuring out psychology and figuring out your target market too. Because a lot of times you're going to just throw ads to everywhere and it's not going to resonate. So we have so many clients who've joined who are like, I got an Instagram ad. And you're like, huh. So we've gotten very good with our targeting our ads to the right people. And now our client acquisition cost through social media is one of our best areas. I think another area that people really don't think about is just like organic Google search and setting yourself up for that, and your website and your content like around that. That's like the evergreen stuff that we consistently get as well. So like we've really gotten smarter with that. And we do a lot of work in our gyms in particular, like when they're open with events and content, and free content is really important for us to in conversion, because we know that we need to gain trust and we need to gain it quickly. And we usually do it through content. We have people who will sign up for our newsletter or something from us, and it takes about 6 interactions with us before they'll reach out.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know you have the podcast, you have the blog. Did those start at the beginning almost as like an outlet for you to get your thought leadership out with less intention for like, this is going to be a driver down the road?
Oh yeah. My podcast was started as a dare 5 years ago, because there was not 5.5 years ago, there really weren't many women podcasting in the personal finance space. And I had and I was blogging, and I had friends who were like, you should do a podcast. And I was like, I don't even listen to podcasts. So I did the podcast. And what's happened is now I've had 5.5 years. The podcast is a consistent lead gen source for the gym. That was not intentional, but people have gotten to know me and the show. And I've had, and we've kind of done some kind of, client interaction. We just unintentionally or intentionally done a lot of pieces around the financial gym client experience has ended up in my show, which has led to people signing up.
Nice cycle there.
Yeah. And what's interesting is like my trainers are always they love when they get clients who their sources through my podcast. We always say there's like a Venn diagram of like an awesome financial gym client. It's like podcast listener, financial gym client, like that intersection is always, my trainers always love podcast listener clients, because they're like, they've been listening for years. Like they're like, oh, they know it, they got it, like they're excited, yeah, they're ready to go, like they've been waiting for this, and they're like, and plus I have a show about money and drinking, so they're fun people anyway, right?
Yeah, that's great. When you think about competition, so I know early on this is a super underserved market, and you were one of the only, if not the only, people serving this kind of 0 to 250 asset segment. Now, what does the competitive landscape look like? And when you're pitching against those competitive solutions, how do you differentiate the financial gym?
Well, the interesting thing is, since I started 7 years ago, there's actually less competition than more, which is sad. The LearnVest was a big competitor back when I started, and a group called Society of Grownups. That was a Mass Mutual kind of concept idea around financial health and planning. And then and LearnVest was acquired by Northwestern Mutual, and then Mass Mutual decided to shutter the Society of Grownups concept. There's plenty of technology now. There's like definitely more apps available, but there's always been apps available, and that's part of the problem. And then there are, individuals who offer planning, but it's like just one person. I can't speak to that financial planner and like how their model and like what they're doing. So it's hard to find. And I've said over the years, I'd rather more competition than less. I was actually really 2 years ago, they announced, so Northwestern Mutual bought LearnVest in 2017, I think. And then 2 years later, they shuttered it. I was really sad, because I was like, yeah, you go to LearnVest, go to us. Like we can't serve everybody.
Yeah,
and like, I want the competition. And we found out about LearnVest going away because that Friday night, a woman called our warm-up call team, scheduled a call because she was panicked because she got an email saying the service was going away in a month. And she's like, what am I going to do? And that's how we knew. It was a Friday night. They sent out an email to clients. They announced it publicly on Monday, but we knew Friday night because a woman from LearnVest, a client, called and was freaked out.
Wow.
And her coworker was like, hey, you should try out the financial gym. I think they do something similar.
So that's interesting, because I just feel like, the trend, at least in the last couple of years, is there's almost a renaissance in like financial awareness, and a lot of people, especially in the millennial-ish demographic, are realizing how important this is and how poorly they're set up. So it's good for you, right? The segment's growing and there's less competition, so that's
Yeah, I
good.
mean, it's great for us. And the challenging thing is like it is a very difficult model to build. I mean, it's taken me 7 years. Like it is a lot to figure out how to do it cost effectively. And then raising money is always a challenge. And then it's this combination of technology and service. So there is a secret sauce that we've found over the last 7 years. So there is a reason why we don't have a lot of competition. And in financial services in general, apps do have a difficult time monetizing because they'll get like a lot of users, but then once you have to pay, I remember somebody asking me, a VC, not too long ago, like, how do you get people to pay you? Because we've invested in these companies who'll get 1 million users, assuming some kind of model of like,
Yeah, like we'll start charging
monetization
them
model. Yeah.
$3 a
Yeah. We'll
month or
charge
whatever.
$3 and people start dropping off. And I'm like, yeah, because you're not providing any service. Like you can't just automatically assume like you're going to monetize a model, especially in financial services. So for us, we have to prove our value right away. But my argument is like, well, I get people to pay for it because I say, if you can't afford $85 a month, which is about what we charge, then you probably should join our gym because that means like you're not saving and you're not doing all the things you need to do. And you probably need somebody to look at your money. So, and then we have a money back guarantee and people can quit after 3 months, but it's our job then to get you results right away.
Right. And that's what I was going to ask. I know you've mentioned a couple of times around like this digitization, adding the technology layer. So I'm totally on, in your camp on this, where I think the human touch, the personal touch, especially for a business like this, it can't go away. But in order to scale a business like that, and I'm sure your investors have said that and you've looked at this, it'll likely be more linear, right? Because you just have to add more heads or make the process a little bit more efficient so people can take on more clients. Have you looked at trying to digitize any part of it? I don't know how many clients each trainer you have now can support, but like, let's say it's 25. Have you tried to implement some kind of technology to get that to 50?
Oh yeah. Well, that's the interesting thing is like we have technology. I mean, that's
Cool.
like we are a fintech
It's not all pen and
company.
paper.
Yeah. And our trainers, a number of them have close to 200 clients. The biggest challenge we had initially was in the planning aspect. So our financial plan process was very cumbersome. And that's something where we raised our Series A in the summer of last year, 2019, and we hired our first tech team. So we did not have in-house tech. We used some, we contract work and solutions. We have a site called Training Zone, which is like mint.com. And that's Plaid as our aggregator. We use different technology to help track our clients' growth, but we hadn't done the technology on the plan side. So the planning side. So that was a very labor intensive process for our trainers, but we did hire our first tech team in September, and we've actually now perfected our financial planning software, which we call Plan Generator. But I've literally have a note to my leadership team like, we need a new name, but I'm not creative like that, like financial gym. Like I'm very like straightforward, like Plan Generate generates plans for us, but like there's a name for it that somebody will come up with. But we can literally create plans now in less than 30 minutes. So it's almost like we can do it while we're talking to a client, which before used to take 3 hours minimum, especially with early trainers. And it pretty much, it takes out a lot of the guesswork. It's very quick. We are going to be launching a version 2 where people can do plans themselves to a degree. And so that will allow us to kind of hit a different price point and kind of more of a DIYer. And we do plan to go there because we do want to have different price tiers. There's like the kind of DIY it, do your plan manager help that way. Like the people go to the gym and just do their own workouts. But there are a number of people who need the trainer aspect. So then, have different tiers.
Yeah, that's great. I like that a lot. If you were to like manifest, 5 to 7 years out, where do you want the financial gym to be? How big? What do you want to do? What do you want to offer as products, services?
Yeah, I've always said I would love to see gyms across the country. I've actually, we're big manifestors at the gym. That's like part of what our trainers do with our clients and what we do as a leadership team as well. So actually my current manifestation is staying in this seat until we have 1 million members. That's my commitment to the gym. So growing to that point, we have, we're primed and ready to go. It's just a matter of sometimes like the capital component of it, but we We have a training program for our trainers that is easy for us to scale up. We can deliver it virtually as well. We have an 84% success rate with that versus a 10% success rate for most financial advisory training programs. And now we have our technology. So we're ready to go.
It's looking good. Yeah, it's looking good. Okay, so I'm going to shift to more like rapid fire round with some of these other questions. So the first couple are around hiring. So and for you, right, this is so important to have great quality trainers. So what characteristics do you look for in people that you hire, and what has proven to be consistent qualities across like superstars?
Yeah. I said it from day one, and I always say compassion and empathy and a desire to help people are the three things. And we've gotten good at weeding that out in the interview process, but it's truthfully the people who reach out to us. We rarely actively like promote our jobs. We have more people come to us because they're seeing us on the Today Show, the Googles, whatever, like they're looking for that. We have a lot of people looking to be a different kind of financial advisor. So then they end up finding us. So that comes out in the interview process of what people are looking for. Our trainers all start at the same price point. If you want to work for me as a trainer, you start at $60,000 a year. It's an interesting dynamic of like it works as until you grow your business from the business side of it, for us to afford somebody. But two, it really also kind of helps us align with the right trainer as well, because somebody who's going to come in and like say, I want to make 600,000. Okay, we'll go become a financial planner and sell product to people and do it.
Yeah.
Happy for you to do that all day long. But we're not asking our trainers to prospect and bring in business. We're literally handing them their clients. We're just asking them to take really good care of their clients. So it's a different type of person we're looking for. But usually they find us. So, so it's in the questions we ask, we can get to that point. We also do a Gallup strengths test that we have been doing consistently for hires, and we know strengths that are really good trainer strengths, and we know strengths that are not from previous hires.
From experience. Yeah.
So we've gotten to the point now we know if somebody scores in a certain one or two types of strengths, we're like, probably not going to work out. But also, we've done it with our training program where our trainers are on a 90-day review process essentially before they kind of graduate from the program. So it's very early on, and there are checklists we know for them to accomplish and to meet over those 90 days. And we know they'll be successful in the long run. If they're not hitting those in those 90 days, we know it's probably not going to work out.
That makes a lot of sense. So I want to play a little like financial health Mythbusters. Are there any other like common misconceptions or myths that people come to you with that you want to dispel right here on the show?
Yeah, that investing is complicated, and that it's hard, and that it's for long-term investing. We see a number of people, maybe they have savings account and then they'll have a retirement account. And I'm like, well, what about the middle money? Like, why aren't you investing it? Oh, I'm afraid of losing money. Well, inflation is 1% to 2% and you're earning less than that in your bank account. So your worst fear is literally happening every single day. You're literally losing money every single day. So what could be scarier than that?
And so from the investing side, when you kind of get people going in that direction, do you talk to them about indexes, specific funds? Do they company pick?
Yeah, we don't specifically do the investing for them. They do that for themselves. But we're fans of robo advisors. Honestly, asset allocation is the biggest thing at the end of the day. We really don't care how the client gets there. It's knowing that there's different types of investments for different types of goals, and the most cost-effective way you can do that. So we will have clients will do what we learn from the client is like, what's going to be the easiest way to get you investing, right? If it's going to be very frictionful for you to like set up an account at E-Trade and move the money and pick the things, then don't do E-Trade. Like if you don't want to have to do that much work, and for some people that is a lot of work, then just open up a Betterment account or a Wealthfront or Stash Investing. They're all, it's fine. They're all, about the same anyway, but it'll automatically invest your money for you. And that's sometimes the hardest part for people. So yeah, there might be, some fees for robo advising. They're less than like mutual funds. So we're looking at the fees and talking to them about fees. But at the end of the day, we just want you investing.
Got it. That's a good one. So when you think about, funding the company and an investor, pitches that you went on, what's the biggest lesson you learned from an investor pitch?
You have to know the language of investors and what they're looking for. And there's different languages for different types of investors, or different types of investors are looking for different things. If you are talking to angel investors, or individuals like friends and family, they're more into the mission and you as a person and supporting you. And, you have to kind of tell more of the story for them. They're, most of them have built their wealth from some other way, and they just really love investing in causes and feeling like they're part of something. It's a different type of story, a different type of sell than like a VC who is very formulaic, and there is a VC language that you need to know that I didn't know. And if you don't know the language, then they assume you don't know the industry. And VCs, if you're going into VC investing, they're always looking for something that's going to be huge. Like they don't want to invest in you if you just want to have a business with like one location and you break even and you make, $1 million a year and you're happy. You don't want to talk to a VC if that's not you. So you have to know who you're talking to and know what type of funds you're looking for and what you want to accomplish with the business, because each of those types of investors has different goals.
Yeah, that makes sense. So similarly, what's the best piece of advice you've gotten from a mentor along the way? It doesn't have to be an investor. It could be anyone you've seen as a mentor.
This is just advice in general. And I'd say this to anybody, especially if you have a boss or wherever you are in your industry. My mentor, who was the first investor of the gym, would always say, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. And as a founder and entrepreneur, all you're doing is problem solving all day long. It's just like a series of problems you're constantly trying to solve for. And I'd say if if you're a person who works at a startup or even in your company and you want to move up in the world, the best thing to do is like going to your leader, your boss, your manager with solutions already, because your boss manager is like problem solved out some days, and it's like, hey, we got a problem with the fax machine. Okay, what's your solution for it? Like another thing I have to solve for. Like the more problem solving you could do yourself, not only helps you if you want to become a founder, but also helps you grow in a company. Because as a founder, for me, I can't bend over backwards enough for my employees who bring solutions all the time.
Yeah, they come to you. They're like, this is my 39th problem of the day. Like, I just need.
Yeah. Or they're like, hey, here's this. We got a problem with the fax machine. I think we should do this, this, and this. Perfect.
Go
Great.
ahead.
Even if it's not the best solution, like even if it's not a solution, at least you tried. Like I appreciate that. As a founder, it's one less thing I have to solve for. I appreciate it. Because startups have endless problems. I mean,
that's pretty much what it is, right?
It's nothing
you're a
but
firefighter
problems.
all day.
Yeah, you have nothing but problems. And, you love employees who also find problems too. Like, that's great. Like a problem you didn't know about, but you're like, hey, can I get some help with the solutions here, please? Like, I can't do everything.
Yeah, that's so true. So a question here. So if you could teleport back to the first couple months and maybe answer this to both starts of the company, what would you tell yourself?
I tell myself to do everything exactly the same. I say this all the time too. People ask, what would you tell your younger Shannon? I'd say do exactly everything the same, because even all the pain and the poor decisions and the having the space that I shouldn't have had, like it all informed the whole journey, and and everything led to where I am today. And now I help mentor other women and other founders, and I'm helping them with the things I learned the hard way. And some of the more painful lessons are some of the most important ones. So you can't avoid the pain. Don't avoid the pain, like lean into it. Do it all over again.
I love that answer. I totally agree with that. A lot of people are like, oh, I'd avoid this. But like going through it is exactly.
I'm doing all of it. Just that's a whole part of all of this.
What's other than coronavirus and those related things, which we can't understate, but a lot of people are having to deal with those right now. What's your biggest challenge, or like what's keeping you up at night with the business?
The biggest challenge that has and always does keep me up at night is HR. And most founders will say that. And it's funny because I have investors who don't love that, I have like, oh, you have people, you should be like more tech-based. First of all, every company has people. Like you can't run a company without people. Like even if you have tech, you have a lot of engineers. You can't avoid people as a business. At some point you have people. So that's going to be a challenge for every founder. And for me, it's especially as we scaled, like there is a specialness to our early team, and there's a special like culture that the business has created. And then as you grow, you just want that culture to continue and for the secret sauce to continue to be special, and keep finding the people that make it special, and that it's a place that people want to come work and, and are happy and productive and all the things. because you see it when employees are not, it's not, successful on either side. So, but the hard part with an HR is like, people are not robots. So it's very difficult to control. And it's understanding them, and it's a constant moving piece. And especially, I think our biggest HR challenge was recently with the George Floyd situation, and dealing with 400 years of racial injustice, and having to address it as a company, and from a company standpoint, and also, managing the team through that, and being remote, and, there's so many
Very difficult. So many
layers of emotion that are happening at this moment, and guiding them through that and keeping them focused on the business too. Cause you're like, hey, we also have to work, has been challenging.
Yeah, no, I bet. A question I asked to most founders on the show, I'd love to get your take on this. So this is less related to like your specific business, but are there any like market trends across any industry that you're seeing as emerging that's either excites you like as a consumer, or, if you were to put your investor hat on, that would be like exciting for investors?
Honestly, for me, I'm waiting for it. I'm really interested to see the businesses that are going to come from the last 3 months, because I think, in the post COVID, and also honestly, the racial challenges happening, I'm really curious who's going to emerge from it, because there's going to be winners and losers through all this, and new businesses. And sometimes, some of the great businesses happen in the worst times. And, Betterment, Airbnb happened in the last recession, 2008, 2009. So it hasn't happened yet, but I'm really excited about the stories that are going to come from the founders who are like, oh, because of COVID, I did blah, blah, blah. And obviously those businesses are super young right now, but I'm really curious. I'm always like, just you are curious about founders, like the noodling and the problem solving. And I'm really curious what solutions are going to come from all of this.
Yeah, me too. I think there's going to be a suite of businesses that come out of this that are going to be game changers because of this stuff. All right, so three more questions for you. So the first one is learning and resources. So like what books, newsletters, podcasts, of course, will plug yours, follows on social media, or any other outlet would you recommend people following, either if they're interested in being an entrepreneur, starting a company, or financial health?
For all of the above, it's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which was recommended to me by my mentor.
I love that book.
Yeah. Well, it was funny. A lot of people, or especially women, I think, are turned off by that, because the concept of being rich is not necessarily something that like resonates. But my boss was like, you should read it. And my mentor, and I read it, and I was like, oh my God, this is like, even though it was written 100 years ago, so much of it's still true. It's like The Secret. It's all the things in the manifesting, and the girls. I mean, about writing your goals down, setting gates. I mean, I have my manifestation written down. It's all over my room. I still have that from Think and Grow Rich. And I think about all the times I've manifested. Every single one of them has happened with the business. So that book was really eye-opening for me, and like pushing the business further. So I suggest that if you want your business to be bigger, like you need to manifest it yourself. So Think and Grow Rich. And then The Year of Less by Kate Flanders is like a really great personal finance / not personal finance book. I think most personal finance books are like difficult to get through because a lot of numbers, but this book is kind of like the Eat, Pray, Love of first personal finance. And I think people, it's a behavioral, personal finance is more behavioral than anything else. So finding concepts that you can relate to is something that attracts me for people.
And then we'll plug your podcast as well.
Martinis and Your Money, living a better life one cocktail at a time.
Yeah, that's great. So final two questions. So we ask these to every single guest. So I'm really excited to get your take. So the first one is the Startup Manifesto. So if you had to write a Startup Manifesto with 5 of the most important key lessons or pitfalls to avoid when starting out, what would they be?
Don't listen to what other people say. Trust your gut. Don't be afraid of pivoting. Always know where your cash is and believe in yourself.
That's a great list. Thank you for doing that. And then the last one, which has also been really successful for the show, is a nomination. So it's your turn to nominate another founder that's either a friend, colleague, or mentor of yours that you'd like to see on the show in the future.
Yeah, I think we're focused on supporting our Black founders. I think that's really important now. A founder who's also a client of the gym is her name's Malia, and Made by Malia is her company. And she makes jewelry, but was in the fashion industry, and has a really interesting take, and also like a really great business as well.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll have to get her on. So before we wrap, I want to acknowledge you for a second. I think after hearing, this and having this conversation, you're really authentic and you stay true to yourself regardless of, what other people tell you, the mentor piece about how, someone misguided you and you kind of stuck to your guns. I really respect that. And I think through this conversation that's become evident. And so I'm really excited to stay connected with the Financial Gym and continue to support as much as I can.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I think it's like there's something like an Oscar Wilde quote, like, be you because everybody else is taken. I mean, it's like, that's all you can be. At the end of the day, like people are like, oh, you're authentic. I'm like, well, who else am I supposed to be? I can't keep up with all the characters.
Yeah, no, that's a really good quote. So just last thing to plug your social media, website, and for people who listen and want to follow you.
So, financialgym.com for the website. We're at the Financial Gym on Instagram and Financial Gym on Facebook. And for me, I'm at the Shannon McLay on Instagram. And if I'm anywhere, I'm there, but I'm like the worst user of social media. But my team at the Financial Gym is amazing and they do great content. So you should follow them.
Perfect. Shannon McLay, founder of the Financial Gym. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to that episode with Shannon McLay of the Financial Gym. Remember, if you like what you heard and want to support the show, there's a couple quick things you could do that would really help us out. These should take about 2 minutes in total, but I cannot tell you how important they are to help grow the show. Number 1, subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts. Once you go on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a 5-star rating and a couple sentence positive review on why the show inspired you. These ratings and reviews are super important, and they basically tell Apple that they should put our show in front of other people that have never seen it before that might like it. 2, follow us on social media, mainly Instagram at Founder Podcast. Each week we put out teasers, audio clips, and important quotes from the episode. And lastly, check out our website as a mission control for the show. Go to thefounderpod.com. We have a page on there called Special Offers where we aggregate all the discount codes from all of our founders' companies, as well as the books and resources that have been recommended. I hope you enjoyed that episode and are looking forward to the next one. Until then, I'm Kallaway, and this is The Founder.